Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Best People We Know radio show. This is where you'll meet experts and celebrities who share their success secrets with you to help you be your most successful best too. Your host, Deb Scott, is a certified professional coach at Discover the Amazing You Coaching and author of the award-winning motivational book, The Sky is Green and the Grass is Blue, turning your upside-down world right side up. The Best People We Know radio show brings you powerful resources, effective ideas, and transformational tools you can use to educate, inspire, and motivate you to be your most purposeful, peaceful, happy best. So get ready to experience mind vitamins to feed your whole soul. Good change is about to happen. The Best People We Know radio show. Here's your host, Deb Scott.
Well, good afternoon, all the best people I know. It is a pleasure to have everybody with us today. And oh, my goodness, I cannot believe we have #1 New York Times best-selling author Dave Pelzer with us today. And if you want to talk about somebody that can turn a green sky into true blue and take something bad and make something beautiful out of it, you're going to learn more than you ever thought was possible from our guest. Authentic, real, walk the talk, living life. Dave Pelzer is going to talk to us a lot about his new book today, Too Close to Me, which is fabulous, along with all of his other great books. But I'm going to give you his website right now. You can also get all of his social media sites from there. He has an amazing Facebook page where he posts terrific things. Just go to davidpelzer, Pelcer.com, and you get links to all of his new books, his Facebook links, and all of his media appearances. And I also want to let you know that to get a listing of all of our great guests on the Best People We Know show, you can go to debscott.com and sign up for the monthly Mind Vitamin News. Let me tell you a little bit about Dave if you don't already know who he is. As I said, he's the #1 New York Times and #1 international best-selling author. He's a recipient of many awards, one of them being the National Jefferson Award. He's experienced an amazing life. At the age of 12, he was rescued and placed in a series of foster homes until he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. And at age 18, he went on and just overcame all the odds. He was determined to better himself, no matter what was against him. Some of Dave's distinctive accomplishments have been recognized through a number of prestigious awards, as well as personal recommendations from Presidents Reagan, Bush, Clinton, George W., and he's also been honored, and this is just to name a few awards because we'd never get to the show if I had to name them all. 10 Outstanding Young Americans, Outstanding Person in the World, and again, the National Jefferson Award. He's written 8 inspirational books. This most recent one, Too Close to Me, has just become a bestseller again. He's probably most well known for A Child Called It, and that was his first book. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for over 6 years. My goodness. Dave is a living testament of a self-made man who has an optimistic attitude that overcomes every adversity with resiliency, service to mankind, and a great sense of humor and faith. It is a privilege and a pleasure to have you on the show sharing your shine with us. Dave Pelzer, thank you.
No, thank you. My goodness. My head's getting so big I can't even walk down the hallway. Come on, people.
You know, your humility, I think the great ones, they always have such true humility, but I just wanted to tell the listeners I was especially honored when, and I love your I guess, administrator, your office manager.
We call her M from the James Bond film. She's a grandmother, and she's really a sweetheart, but she can turn on a dime, okay?
Oh, my goodness. Well, M, she was terrific. I really enjoyed communicating with her when she had confirmed that you would be willing to come on the show. I was just so honored, but I just want the listeners to know, and I was telling you, I remember going through a really, really tough time in my life. We all have some of those times in our life. But, it was my poor mother. She was just like, what am I going to do? And one day, and this was back in 2000, 2001, she comes in the door and she says, look, I bought this book for you. You need to read this. And here, I'm holding it in my hand. Help Yourself, Dave Pelzer. And there you are with your arms crossed. I read this book, and it just opened up my mind, my heart, and my soul. You're probably one of the reasons why I got so interested in this, self-help, but really just being the best person you were created to be journey. So I think she's smiling down on this moment right now. So thank you so much.
Well, that's the thing about life is, and it doesn't matter if you're LeBron James or at this day and age a Kim Kardashian, a new photo shoot. But the bottom line is, if you have something, if you can help people out, I think that's the message. And everybody, see, you get typecast, I get typecast. For years, I was typecast as the child abuse guy or the child abuse expert, and I was on the campaign trail saying, no, it's about resilience, a universal message, because we all go through something. And I think now, as we're starting to climb out of the recession hole and employment's getting better, everybody has been affected in one way or another, from the war on terrorism to the recession to medical situations, and it's what you do with that situation, how you continue to raise your kids, or how you still have a sense of value or dignity, and hopefully, spreading a message or trying to be nice to your fellow man. And to me, it's an honor, because I look back, I'm, retired from the military, I've become a volunteer firefighter recently. Things have changed in a life, and I'm going, my goodness, what the adventure, and that's the thing about life, is you kind of have to look at the adventure of life and not day by day micro, but look at it in maybe 5 or 10 years what you've accomplished. And to me, it's been a heck of a ride, a heck of a journey, and I never thought in a million trillion years I'd have the blessings I've had. I mean, it's to me, I listen to you reading, the introduction, going, my gosh, that is such, because I'm going through a few things right now. I'm going, my gosh, this is so amazing, not because it's about me, but because I'm thinking, look at what one person can do. In your case, you're helping a lot of people out. You got a radio show. You're writing books. You're doing something to change the equation of boo-hoo, poor little me attitude.
Wow, am I so glad we can recycle your show and all of your thoughts and your words. One of the things that I love about what you said is, and I don't think there's a person on planet Earth, if we could get you in front of 7 billion people, I think that you would find a way to connect with each one. I love what you're saying, not because I enjoyed the story of the child abuse that you went through, and I know what you're saying about being typecast that way, although I think it's important. I don't think people can, if they haven't read what you went through. Your story was one of the worst, I think, child abuse cases in California. I don't think anybody could read what you went through and say, oh, my gosh, look at how positive this man is. Look at how he sees the silver lining. Look at how he's contributing, how he's in the military, how he's so positive, how he's so grateful, how he's so excited about life. And that's the message, that optimism and resiliency and... Well,
it's a fork in the road. I remember years ago, and I'm a voyeur. I'm a psychological voyeur, and I like to know what makes good people great and what makes people so hollow and just bad. And I remember one time I listened to a lady, and she was in queue for a book, get a book, and I gave her a hug. And behind her, a friend saying, honey, how you doing? How's that cancer doing? And she says, are you a victim of cancer? She says, no, I'm a survivor of cancer. I'm fighting the cancer. And I've never met anybody fighting a medical situation that says, I'm a victim, poor little me. So it's that fork in the road mindset. If you're hungry, you got to feed yourself. If things aren't going, you got to kick that can and constantly try to better yourself and change that equation. Otherwise, you get swallowed up in the divorce. You get swallowed up in the unemployment. You get swallowed up, okay, this is it. I don't know what I'm going to do now. At least try to attempt to do something. And I think for me, in a psychological level, because I was abused for 8 years, because my mother didn't feed me, I had to adapt and learn to feed myself. When I was in foster care, because I was isolated in a basement for over 8 years, wasn't allowed to talk, I had to stand in front of a mirror at age 14 and learn my A, B, C, Ds. So after a while, it's like I listen to a musician, and they say, oh, I play piano, I play guitar, I do this. I'm going, oh, my God, how do you do all those things? And they basically say you start out with the one thing, and then you keep going and going and going, and it becomes part of your repertoire. That's all it was for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how, it's just, I'm so emotionally touched by everything that you're saying, and I'm just so humbled because, in reading even the book that my mother handed me back, or your earlier book, and then your most recent book, it's interesting to see the evolution that you share in such a transparent way, because most people will say, oh, well, he's, but he's a #1 New York Times bestselling author now, or but he's doing this. I hear you saying, look, there is no graduation from life. I'm still going through stuff today. I was going through stuff yesterday. Everybody's going through stuff. But the good news is these are the things that I've learned that I can share with you so that you can enjoy the process.
Or not make those mistakes, or be more appreciative. Yes. Years ago I had a radio show, and I'm a little snarky. I'm like Tony Stark from Iron Man meets Robin Williams. And I remember I came on the radio show, and I was boisterous. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Great Recession. I'm loving it. And people would call in, what do you mean? I said, divorces are down. We're not buying 20,000 Blu-ray DVDs every moment of the hour. We're humble, we're kind. If we can pay the rent, that's a good day. If we go to Applebee's or Chili's, wow, what a treat for us. So it's almost like you have to experience a little bit of negative or something that's unfortunate so you can appreciate how great the evolution of life is. And there's always something to learn. There's always something to experience. There's always something to do. Because you and I, Deb, unfortunately, we meet a lot of people that I call the walking dead. They're a constant victim of the situation. I hate my ex-wife. I hate my ex-husband. I hate my boss. Life sucks, da-da-da-da-da. I'm going, dude, you're the common denominator. You've got to do something different, unless you want to be in this mire, because greatness is never easy. Leadership is rather hard. So you have to do something with it, I think. And at the end of the day, maybe you didn't climb Mount Everest, but you made a few steps, and look how far you came. And at the same time, there's got to be a sense of gratitude. I mean, my mother didn't feed me one time for like 8 days, not one morsel of food. I would steal water. And now I can microwave something. I can have a cup of coffee. I can have any meal I want, and not a single day passes that I don't count my blessings. Because like you, I'm going through a lot of stuff too, but it's amazing. You just take that step back and be kind, be humble, receive the goodness, and you know what? Put a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm. The maturity that you present, the business of living with, it really inspires me, and I know it's inspired so many other people. Do you think that part of what you're able to do and why you're able to share what you're sharing is that you're honest with yourself, and you're able to love yourself in a way that just celebrates that you exist, because you've had so many difficulties and tragedies, and most people don't have their mother stabbing them or not being, the things that you went through. I don't even want to, it's hard.
Yeah, and part of it too, Deb, and I have to be serious, because I'm probably, I'm a nice guy, but I have my moments I'm not so nice, and sometimes I don't have together as much as I think I want or should, and I have my moments that I'm going, gosh, Dave, you lost your temper, you shouldn't do that. But I really think in life there is a fair amount of luck of who you are, where you're born, what part of the planet you're from, or what situations are going on. Because if you really look at it, and I had a revelation maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I realized that I should be dead, that if I'm not dead, I should be rotting away in jail. Or I would scare ISIS. I would be the biggest terrorist in the history of the universe. But because of luck that I was rescued, because I was placed in the bosom of social services and foster care, because I had people, challenging me to do better, I have 10 fingers and 10 toes. I have a pretty good heart. I have a pretty good mind, and the thing is, there's luck in there. And you just kind of look at yourself and you say, okay, if I can survive cancer, I can survive the flu. If we can survive 9/11, we can survive a small attack. If we can survive the Great Recession, then we can survive losing a couple points on the Dow Jones. So you have to look at it from a different perspective, a mature perspective. And so it's about luck. It's about being gracious and, being a little humble, and at the same time just enjoying it. Like the Joker said in the Batman film, why so serious? Because a lot of people, they just, okay, once I get the car, once I get the girl, once I get married, once I get the baby, once I get the first thing, then I'll be happy. Once I get all these things together, then I'll be happy. You know, I'm going, no, it's never going to happen the way you think you want it, financially or spiritually or relationship-wise. But if you can find a moment of solace that you can be happy now, that can give you some fuel to get you through some of the hard times. And it's I've always had one of those analytical minds, and I was very lucky. I mean, I look at my life now at age 53 and how and when things happen, because my mother, I interviewed her before she died many years ago. I was a young adult, and she confessed. She didn't even know she was being interviewed in a sense, and she confessed to me that she was planning on killing it. That's what she used to call me, it. She said, David, I was planning on killing it the summer of 1973, but those people, took it away in spring of 73. I was planning on killing it that summer. The only problem I had, David, was where to hide its body. And I thought, oh, my gosh. I was rescued in March of 73. She would have disposed of me sometime in that summer, because some people don't know how close they are to the abyss in the relationship or finances or you know, the gratitude of working every day. Rather than showing up, you should work. You should accomplish something. And then the things kind of fall out from under you going, oh, my God, what do I do now? I mean, you should have seen it coming. And I just, again, I mean, I look at my life and going, how lucky am I? I'm 53, and I'm a certified volunteer firefighter. They got me driving engines the last couple months, and I'm learning this, or I'm working on another book, or I might do radio again. I mean, there's always something to do and something to experience, but, you know, it is with this humble sense of gratitude. I think that's so important in this day and age, because some people, these pop culture icons, they just don't get it. See, I'm glad to say that my son is 28. He's a police officer. His wife is a dispatcher. They have good values, and, you know, they're going through ups and downs like everybody else, but at least, you know, at the end of the day, you produced something that hopefully made a positive impact, rather than being about me, and me too attitude.
You know, I really do think that we do live in a society that's starving, I think, for that authenticity, humility, gratitude, and you are a living testament to any experiencing, giving somebody the hope that you can become better and not bitter, as that old cliche goes. But some people don't, and I would love for you to speak to the listeners now that you reflect on the time that you've had writing and teaching and speaking and doing your own internal archaeological dig into your soul, which in your new book, Too Close to Me, you know, you talk about that so much in that reflection, and you know, you really know yourself. And
well, but
for
then
the listeners, share with that.
What I kind of like with the new book here is that, you know, everybody kind of thinks, okay, if you're number one of this, a movie or a book or a song or whatever it is, and they think, oh my gosh, it must be so great, it must be this and that. I'm going, no, I still change the cat litter box, or I'm still trying to be a good husband or be a good father. And yet all those things that behind the scenes are stacked against you. Because I remember I was on the road one time over 30 days a year, 16 hours a day, saving the world from itself, but I have to start with me. You know, I mean, I would come home for 2 or 3 days, my body would shut down, and then you just go back on the road again. Or what does that do to a relationship? What does that do to a relationship with a marriage or your kids or your own self, in a sense? And then still going out there and doing battle, and Dave, you need to live with me for 18 hours a day for 5 years, and you need to help me. And I'm going, well, I can give you 5 hours, but I can't do this. So you kind of have to have like a boundary, and you have to kind of know yourself a little bit more. So rather than going on that 1492, you know, looking for the new world, you kind of have to stop and kind of look at yourself and repair yourself so you can be more effective in, per se, the mission of being a good parent, the mission of being in a committed relationship, or the mission of being a business person. So that's, to me, what that book was about, and it's very self-defacing. I mean, there's parts of that book that I'm very ashamed of and very, very embarrassed. I remember, you know, allowing people to take advantage of me. And I had to say, Dave, okay, you've been taken advantage of in the business world several times, your own agent, issues with publisher. I mean, my gosh, and, you know, I had to look at myself and say, David, you're the DNA. You're the one that started this. Because a lot of people, they come up to me and say, well, I've been married 7 times. I'm attracted to all the bad boys, and they beat me up, and they're drug addicts and alcoholics. They stop. This has to do with you. because of either your lack of sense of value, your lack of sense-worth. You have to do something different. You're a person of value, so do something different. That's what I think in our age, because if you're over 45 or so, you kind of have to look at, okay, I've got 25, 30 good summers left. Not a lot, but that's still a good run. What am I going to do with those summers? What am I going to do with my body? What am I going to do with my mental health? What am I going to do with my relationships? Because it's different than working. I was in junior high. I used to work 40 hours a week. High school, I used to work over 90 hours a week. And I can't physically do that anymore. It's like I can't pitch those games anymore as a baseball pitcher. I have to be more effective with the time and energy and love that I have left. That's what I think it's about.
Yeah, well, I'm around the same age as you too. So believe me, I'm not running those 6-minute miles anymore. Oh my gosh, it's tough. But that acceptance of self and the healthy boundaries.
That's
I really
a hard
love
lesson.
for you to. What was that?
I say that's a very hard lesson for all of us, because we look in the mirror and our body changes, or we look at where we were 5-10 years ago, and that was a very hard lesson for me to look at myself mentally, physically, spiritually, and say, Dave, maybe you're out there and you're a rock star, but you've got some issues you really need to take care of. Otherwise, it's only going to compound itself and get worse, and that is so hard to do.
Yep, it is hard to do, but you definitely are doing it, and you write about it, and you're teaching all of us to really step into that greatness of healthy boundaries. And that sense of humility, not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less often. You really talk about the people that maybe want to take advantage of you because you were the #1 best-selling author, or the people that, all of those things that the world is not necessarily fair. God can be fair, but that's the way the world is, but that doesn't stop you from doing the right action. It's not necessarily about how you're feeling.
I remember asking someone, I was counseling somebody, I said, do you sleep with radiation? What? Do you sleep with radiation? Of course not. Why? Well, it kills you. And I said, yes, you're right. It kills you from the inside, so you have to expose yourself less to all these toxic relationships, business and personal, because it's killing you. So I say these little mantras that are very visual and very simpleton, but then I really think they have a nice, hard core, and you go, oh my gosh, I can't do this with this relationship, or I can't do this to myself, in a sense. So that's part of it too.
Well, in one of the things you talk about in this beautiful marriage that you're in, and you've got these beautiful reflections about how your priorities in that relationship, or the priorities in the people that really love you and the things that matter, when you're with somebody, like you're on this radio show, you're here 110%. But when this is over, then you're going to go be doing something else, and you're going to be 110% there. But sometimes the pruning can hurt. But if we don't prune the plant, it will never grow and be the most beautiful thing that it was created to be. And I think that's what you talk a lot about in this most recent book as you reflect on the earlier days is a lot of that, saying, you know what, the best thing I can do for you sometimes and the best thing I can do for me is say no, or to dump the drama. Or, like you say, don't sleep with radiation, don't dig up the dead bodies. It's like, don't do it. Why do you do that? The big question is, why don't you love yourself enough to do the right thing for yourself and for others? How do you see this humility, the faith factor? How does that help you in deflecting criticism, in living your each day with all of these qualities that you've really nurtured and inspired others to have? I mean, it's good that you're contagious, Dave.
Part of it has to do, again, where you're at in life and how old you are and the experience and the maturity of life. And part of it is because, I don't like criticism, and I try. I try to live a good life. I try to be honest. I try to be, a good Samaritan. I try to help, and that's the one thing I learned too in the business. When I was like #1 on the list and stuff like that, I would be interviewed, and oh, Dave, you made it up. Oh, Dave, you're not Dave Pelzer, or you just invented the story so you can get published, because that's very easy to do, obviously. And then so you can be number one, which is very easy to do. So you can make hundreds of billions of dollars, and none of this is true. And I'm going, oh, my gosh, I've been vetted, top secret clearances. I've had FBI investigation, that type of thing. Everybody knew what I was doing. And I'm going, it's so easy. This is so amazing. I mean, you're the person that's wrong. I can prove my worth. Or even as a child, my mom would tell my brothers, well, the boy murdered someone at a school and burned down the school. That's why I had to punish the child. I'm going, I can prove that never happened. The school's there. I mean, it was so obvious. So you can do one of two things. You can chase other people's approval, and it will never be enough. You can give them the cure for cancer, and they'll say, well, why didn't you do that yesterday? You're a little late. You can serve them the best meal in the world. The parsley is a little, well, it is what it is. So you can quit chasing approval, and at the same time, too, just be the best person you can be. And I remember an interview years ago. I'll never forget this. And it's always those small things, those little seeds that are planted and nurtured and just grow, and they resonate. And there was this lady. She was such a loser, Deb. Oh, my goodness. I was surprised. I was the only person that probably watched that interview. She's sitting there, and she's looking really nice. And this lady's just beating her up and says, your movies haven't grossed very well. You used to be America's sweetheart. We don't think we like you that much anymore. And some people say terrible things about you. What do you say to that, Julia Roberts? He says, well, I try to be a good person. I show up 110% on set. I do things you don't know about when it comes to charity. And the line she gave me that made me cry, she says, I know in my heart what is true. And I thought, wow, Julia Roberts has taken flack, and she's so poised and so calm and so elegant, and yet she just put it back on the table. Because I've had people say terrible things about me, or Dave, why didn't you give me more money, or why didn't you do this for that person or this? I'm going, you know what? I've done as much as I can. I'm glad I've been able to help. But you know what? At the end of the day, I know I'm a good person, and that's all I can do for now. Period. And that's it.
Well, I love what you say about you just can't live your life based on or measure your success and failure or anything based on what other people think, because like you say, it'll be that parsley. There'll always be something. And I wonder if we forget that, when we die, those people, their life review isn't going to happen before us. And I know that you had people in your life. You had, like myself, I lost my mom and dad within a year of each other, and you had some very important people die, like in 4 months, I think, close amount of time. I'd love for you to talk with the listeners, and I'm not trying to be morbid here, but I get this sense that we forget that we're not staying in that sense of urgency that you seem to have about live each day, do this moment. We forget that, hey, this is a gift. We're not all going to be here this time next year. Speak to the listeners about the impact of losing these really important people in your life so quickly.
Well, I was working on a script for the first book. Some people wanted me to write a script, and I finished it. And then I got a call from a young lady, and she says, one of my teachers found out she had tumors in her brain, and she had less than 14 days to live. And this is after I lost a friend on Christmas Eve. And this is after there was a lady that physically fell off a sidewalk and got grazed by a car, and her head, boom, hit the pavement. And I was there as the first I was physically the first person there, and I actually took her pulse, and I gave her a quick blessing because I knew she wasn't going to make it. And I was just thinking of all these situations, and I was thinking again, how precious is life? I remember years ago I was doing a book signing. There was a gentleman, and he was vying for attention, and we came to the Q&A, and he says, okay, Mr. Pelzer, okay, here's my story. He wanted the attention. I'm 61. Dad's been dead for 20 years. He yelled at me once at age 10, and my life has been a disaster since. What is the one thing, Mr. Pelzer, that you can say that will help me? And, of course, there's like 300 people looking at you. And I prayed very quickly, and there's no quick answer. Because, audience, let me say the truth. In this day and age, life is not the easy payments of 1995. That quick fix diet, that internet instant relationship, how to make $1 billion in 5 seconds or less, that's not life. So I remember looking at the guy, and I prayed real quick, and Dave, give me 2 words of advice that will change my life forever. Be happy. What? 3 words, David. Be happy now. How about 4 words? Again, changing them partially. I said, be happy now. Darn it. I mean, Miss Constant, my teacher, my 4th grade teacher, she was one of the ladies that rescued me, that my teachers put their careers on the line when there were no laws to protect children from abuse or those trying to protect babies from abuse. I've met just about anybody you can imagine, presidents and celebrities and people, big-time people patting me on the back, calling me nice names. And I still have that celebrity photo on the 20th year anniversary of my rescue when I gave the teachers the first copy of the book, A Child Called It, to the day. And Miss Constance there and Miss Woodworth and Mr. Ziegler and Miss Howe, the school librarian. And I just remember how gracious she was. She had 14 days. She called up her kids from all over the country, and she started cooking. She's a little Greek lady, loves to cook. She cooked the last meals. She said her goodbyes, and she went home. She went to sleep. And I thought, how gracious is that? This woman who's taught for over 37 years, the lives, the impact she has, and she went from A to Z, from the anger to the denial to the bargaining to the acceptance. I mean, she just, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful lesson that is. And that's the whole thing is we see it in the news every day. There's a school shooting. There's someone running around in a business with a gun, or how unhappy people are, which I totally understand. I get it, but I'm trying to tell people, purge through this. Because I told that guy in that book sign, I said, sir, let me do the math. You're 61. This happened at age 10. Oh, my gosh, you have wasted 50 years of your life on this cancer, this minutia. And then I told him, I wish I was Superman because I can fly around the world so fast, I'd spin the world backwards. I go to President Bush and say, here comes 9/11. Go get Madoff. Get these bad guys. Or I wish I was friends with John Travolta. And I would say, sir, your son has 2 minutes to live. You have to save him now. So it's about the perspective of the value of life and what you do with it. I think, in my perspective, and I might be wrong, you survive something for a reason. You're on this planet with a purpose. I don't look for people. As a chief with the Air Force, I don't look for kids who want a job. I want folks who are looking for a mission that makes a difference. So if you survive a divorce, you survive so you can be better and work on the relationship better. It takes 2 people to make it and break it. I have no respect for any appreciation. Says, well, that person this and that person that. Well, you're pointing the finger at her, but you got 3 pointed at yourself. You survive cancer so you can live longer, so you can be healthier. And again, all the people I meet with medical situations, they're the kindest, happiest people in the world. Or when I meet my veterans, when I go to Bethesda Hospital, when I go to the military bases, and I talk to these brave men and women, and I look at their perspective, and just about every single one of these men and women say, you know what, I'm glad I went over there. It makes me appreciate my uncles and aunts and grandparents more, what they went through at their time, and I just appreciate running water. I appreciate not being fired upon every 5 seconds of the day. I appreciate the value of life. That's why I said again, my mother didn't feed me, and now I can eat food. I had no coordination with my fingers. I worked with chemicals for so many years, I couldn't pick up a spoon or a fork, and I had to work at that. So that's the thing, too. You look at your position, your perspective, and then what are you going to do to make yourself better? And then along the way, too, if you can smile at someone, if you can throw give them a happy meal, if you can throw them a quick blessing, that's the thing, too, that makes us more rounded. You got to keep passing it along.
It's amazing to me how it is a boomerang effect. You always do receive so much more when you give something away, and clearly your whole life is dedicated to that. I wanted to ask you about why you ended the book the way you did, the new book, because I thought it was interesting, and you have M in there. I think she's the very last one, why you did that. But I also wanted to read something closer to the end, but I love it, and it ties in with everything you've said. And you write, I've changed. I no longer starve myself, nor do I punish myself by working 16-plus hours a day, 300-plus days a year. I will not allow myself to be taken advantage of, for I know my value. I do my best not to stupidly try to prove myself by chasing others' approval, and most of all, I will no longer associate myself with those who are deliberately toxic. As simpleton as it sounds, I haven't got time for the pain. Yeah.
And what's really weird is I'm not a good writer, Deb. I mean, I crawl on glass to write a paragraph. I mean, and it takes a lot of meditation.
Well, you could have fooled me. Can I crawl?
Well, please.
I'd like to be as bad a writer as you.
I'm the illusionist, obviously, but I mean, but then I mean, I hear that, I'm going, God, that is pretty good writing. But to me, it just it sums up what I'm saying. I mean, like, how many more summers do I have left? And I can't. And that's the thing I tell people. Okay, if you're doing this, this, and this, and it ain't working, you got to do something different. And that's what I had to do. I had to stop, being on the campaign trail, and prune and work at myself and that different perspective. It's a different perspective. And it was hard because I was on the road a lot because I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people in need, and I can't say no because I was helped as a kid and I was helped in foster care, and some of the people I meet, I mean, my goodness, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are really, really hurting, but it's like you're a doctor. You got to do triage, and you do the best you can with what you have. And I have to think, okay, if I'm going to continue with this mission for another 5-10 years, I've got to be in better shape mentally, physically, and spiritually. I remember reading a story about a mom. She had like 5 kids. Her husband worked very hard, great American family, God bless him. But you know what? She had the flu. And then she had pneumonia because she got out of bed and took care of the husband and took care of the kids. And I remember thinking, okay, when did you learn your lesson, sis? She says, I had to stay in bed for 5 to 7 days and just do nothing. The kids, they had scrambled eggs, they had macaroni and cheese, they didn't do the dishes, they didn't do the laundry, but if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of others. I thought, that's right, the DNA, that's the equation right there. So again, it's an evolution. Because if you look at life, when we're in our 20s, it's about me, and me too. The car, the career, the dating, the whole thing. Then in your mid-30s, you kind of slow down a little bit, because your life's slowing down, and you have these things that you think are so ultra-important. And then you go into your 40s, and you have, the kids are growing up now, and they're on their way, God bless them, change the locks, dump the cell phones. And then in your 50s, you're kind of in that perspective that you start losing things that really are valued, that teacher, that friend, that person who got hit by a car right in front of you. And you start in a perspective going, oh, my gosh, what do I do with the summers I have left? So it is kind of normal. And what I've done with this series of books, because I look at them, if you look at A Child Called It, it was written by an 8-year-old child. It was that perspective. And then the second book was about what happens when a child is placed in foster care. What are the ramifications of being from another planet psychologically and learning to assimilate in this new culture. And it's a tribute to those who really help out kids. And then the third book was about, okay, let's go back and talk about the relationship with a father that was a passive observer, or the mother that I'll never forget this. Miss Catan's my foster mom. The first 2 books were doing well, and she called me on the phone, and she's, a very religious person, and she kept saying, God forgive me, God forgive me. I go, Mrs. C, Miss Catan's, what's up? And she says, David, God strike me dead, but I met your mama once, and David, I've never said this about anybody in my life. She was absolute evil. And the way she said it, it's like someone scooped out my heart. It was just, oh my gosh. And I thought, oh my God, these poor people, these people that do so much, and they never get a praise, they never get an interview, they don't walk that red carpet, and they do it just because they're great people. But to me, what I'm trying to say is about that evolution of life when you're a child, when you're a teenager in your 20s or 30s, and now in middle-aged life. I think that's one of the reasons why I want to become a firefighter, because I thought, you know what, it's always been like a childhood fantasy. My father was a firefighter, and I've always wanted to do something like that. I mean, I've always had that dream, but now that I can slow down, I can learn something and still serve my community, and I get more out of it than anybody I know.
It's so, it is really an evolution, a series of books. I love how you describe that, the different age group and looking at life. And there are some benefits to getting older and looking at things in hindsight. And is that why you had the people at the end, the perspectives from the different people? Why did you do that? I found that interesting, how you had different perspectives of different people in there about you.
Yeah, Mary Mears was my foster mother's daughter, and she's known me since I was 12 years old when I was first placed in foster care. Now, I bounced around in all these different homes, but I always came back to her mother's home. And because I feel like sometimes when I'm writing, I try to be very visual. And I write like I'm a film director. What is the scene? What does the scene mean? What can they take away from each scene? And I thought to myself in writing the book, one of my brothers wants to say something about me, so we did that. Or someone like Mary Mears, I thought, okay, she's known me since, 40-plus years, my goodness.
Yeah.
And she's seen me evolve. She was like my sister. I had a problem with a relationship when I was dating in my 20s, and I would sit down and I was embarrassed to talk to my oldest sister about, love or the opposite sex, because I was, very much in the closet in a sense. I didn't date as a young person. I had a very lack of self-worth, and I thought with the perspectives, even with Miss Esty, she's the director. She runs all the offices, and she's seen me when I come back from Iraq. She sees me when I come back from Katrina or Joplin. She sees me when things are real good, and she knows the real me. And I thought, well, let's take different people who have known me for different parts of my life and say, let's be brutally honest. What is this person like? And I thought it was just very lovely. I mean, there's some, like I said before, there's some things about the book that I'm not too proud of, but there's some things I look at it and I go, this person tries. This person tries. And I think that's okay. And again, in this day and age, when I see magazine covers just because you're showing your bare back and you're thinking you're a talent, I'm going, what do you do with that? What do you do with that talent? What is that? How is that going to help Jimmy in the hospital?
Any quicker?
And I know I think differently. I know I'm a little old-fashioned, but you know what? I got a pretty good ERA, and it works for me. And that's all I try to say. So, if you're going to go down the yellow brick road, I don't recommend it, but watch every step, because you don't know if Oz is there, let alone he's going to grant you an audience. And you don't know if you're going to get those magic slippers to go wherever you want to go. And then you got that crazy witch with monkey feces flying around. So I don't know if you want to do this journey, but if you do it, here's my perspective, because I've been down that road.
Yeah, and
you know what? Day, go ahead.
Yes. No, David, this is what I love. It's like, you've been down the road. You're speaking what's happened to you, and in that, just as you're directing a movie, I think the way you write in your stories and the way you bring things to life, it's like I can see myself in there, feeling those things that you're sharing, and you bring us into that movie of your life, and then we become those characters in it, and we learn about ourselves as we're learning about you. And that's what I love about your transparency. And I didn't want to super interrupt, but I do want to with this, because Mrs. Joyce Woodworth at the end, she's one of those people when you were talking about I thought the value of this. I'll just read this for the listeners. I was present the day that David was on the Montel Williams show, and then on Oprah, and both events were exciting. I was so proud of David and felt it was about time he got the recognition he deserved for helping so many. In the past, when people had said malicious things about David and doubted his story, I always thought, I was there, I know the truth, and I can speak the facts. And the facts are documented. It might be bizarre for people to believe, but I know it's true. The way you write and the way you describe it and the other people writing at the end, I think it just digs down into the depths of the soul for anybody that has one. It's just unbelievable.
But then it's luck. I mean, think about it. Miss Woodworth is in her late 80s, and for about 30 years now, even before my commercial, I get embarrassed about the commercial success. I mean, I was a success with the work I did and received a few accolades before their commercial success, and that's what I really like more than the book thing. And for the last 30 years, I every Mother's Day, my foster parents, there was this one street, would stop off at every other home to dole out these huge bouquet of flowers. And we used to do that with Miss Constant. Now I give it to her daughter since Miss Constant's passed away. And we do it every Mother's Day for Miss Woodworth. And she's in her late 80s now, and she's doing okay. And yet it just brings a smile to my face when she writes me a letter, we chat on the phone and what have you, and just talk about, again, her great-great-grandkids or how my son's doing and how we never thought that we would have this grand life that we've had. And again, you got to take a few knocks on the head, or maybe you got to scrape your knee a little bit so when you know how to walk and run and be efficient, you're like, wow, man, I'm in stride. This is good. This is good. And I'm blessed. I mean, I've always told people that I'm the most blessed person I know, because, again, I know that this thing could have turned very badly for me or against society. And I think at the end of the day, it's about those choices, those micro choices you make, and then how you keep nurturing those choices. I mean, I think in 10 years, I can be a fair piano player. I play maybe 3 minutes a day, 4 times a week. I used to practice a lot more. And I notice when I practice a lot more, gosh, I just get a little bit better and better and better. Or as a volunteer firefighter, I probably do 8 to 10 hours of training every week. The other volunteers, maybe 2 hours a month. But the more I do it, the better I get. Hence, if I work on myself more, I'm going to get better. Rather than sitting on the couch and being a couch potato and attempting to try to flick those channels, hang on, man, let me see here. No, that's just not my style. But it's a lot of luck, and I'm just happy to be here, Deb. I mean, I am just so, even with all I'm going through right now, I have a relative that's terminal, and I'm thinking and praying, and what can we do with the time we have left, and all the other things that you go through life. This is a great day, and this is a great moment. And I really think with people, they wait for that great vacation, they wait for the retirement, they wait for this to be happy. I'm going, no, you got to grab 10 microseconds a day. The coffee moments, the sunset moments. If you have a glass of wine or a glass of water or tea, just whatever it is that, wow, this is okay. And I'm so lucky. I mean, the older I get, I just can't believe my blessings.
Wow. Well, I am just overwhelmed and so excited and honored that you are just sharing everything that you're sharing with the world. I'm so glad and grateful that you were here with us. I know that you are super busy, and for you to carve out this much time to be on the show, it's certainly a gift. And I want to encourage everybody to get your newest book or any one of your books. They're all great, and read them all. And I know you do so much out there speaking and teaching and talking and maybe getting your doing your own podcasting again. How would you like people to connect with you? And also your Facebook page. You have a great community there as well, and we are who we associate with.
I have to be honest. It's Miss Amy Jones at the office and Miss Esty, the director. I mean, credit is due where credit is due. I'm too obtuse. I was like the last person in the world to get on that newfangled device called Internet. I thought it was a fad, and it's Mrs. C that kicks me in the pants and says, oh, you got to do radio. I says, I have a face for radio, but that's about it, okay? Thank you. But it's like anything in life, you're in your little womb, you're in your little cocoon, and I remember the first 5 or 10 radio shows, I says, oh, my gosh, because I was always fascinated by the romance of, per se, radio. And then I got in my groove. I thought, man, this is a good thing. But bottom line is, when it comes to that stuff, they can, they go to the website, just DavePelzer.com, or, there's a phone number there to talk to one of the ladies or what have you. But I really don't. I mean, I probably should, but I don't really advertise whatever, because I'm very opposite. If there's a good restaurant out there, I'm going to find it. And 99% of our business, they just find us either through the book or the internet, stuff like that. And again, it's just it's a blast. And I'm starting to get at the point in my career. I've been doing this since like the 80s. I was a counselor in juvenile hall when I was flying for the Air Force, and teaching about psychology and the art of resilience per se. But man, it's just a blessing to have it, and I get to meet great people. And the one thing I love to do, and we'll probably have to do another show, Deb, but I love to make people laugh. I love it unexpectedly. I was in Iraq one time, and one of our ladies, the officer in the Humvee, were doing a radio check. Everybody has their systems, and she made the mistake of lowering her guard, and she got a Dear John letter, and she read parts of it to us. And, of course, the driver says, he's a loser. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. There's lots of fishes in the sea. Oh, yeah, man, you're going to hook up with someone else. It's okay. And they came to me, Counselor Dave. I'm on interphone, and I said the most beautiful thing to her. I said, Daddy never loved you. You're going to die alone. It made her laugh so hard because it was so left field, unexpected. I remember I just looked at her and I gave her the wink. She goes, you know what? It's only a guy. Boop. See you later. So my point being is, life is really hard, but if you can take a step back and just do something outrageous, look at the big picture, a different perspective, and if you can laugh at yourself a little bit, that's okay too.
Yeah, a little. Abbott Hubbard, what did he say? Don't take life too seriously. You'll never get out alive. And I tell you, I really
life is a rat race. Yeah, that's right. Life is a rat race, he said, and you'll never get out of this one alive.
Yes, exactly. And I do think that sense of humor. It's like, well, how can you have a sense of humor after all you've been through? Well, that is the very reason that you are, doing all the great things you're doing, because you have a sense of humor.
I was actually critiqued one time. I when I do stage work, I like doing the evening programs after 7 o'clock, whatever, and you don't have little kids there, but you have teenagers and stuff like that. And I always do the Dave Letterman top 10 list, or I get the best compliment I got was Robin Williams meets Red Skelton. I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And so I go out there and I do my little shtick, and I talk about the story or what I learned. And one lady critiqued me, he's too darn funny. He's supposed to talk about abuse. I didn't cry too much. And I'm going, you know what, ma'am, God bless you, but life, there's moments. I mean, think about when you're changing diapers or something happens. I mean, life, there's so much to crack up. I mean, I'm cracking up about, America's pop culture thinks she's a pop culture icon. I'm going, we're laughing at you, not with you, Kimmy. So, I mean, there's always something there to laugh at. But we'll have to do another show and we'll talk about humor or something.
We will do that, and I would love that. I would be so honored. I'm so excited, and I got to tell you, it is really, really life is a miracle. I think about the day when I was at the bottom of where I was feeling like, the world was going to end for whatever, the guy I was going to marry, and that didn't work out or whatever. And my mother walking in with the door with this book, this Help Yourself, and with your picture there. And I read that book, and I who would have thought all this time later that we'd be here talking?
But that's the thing, is Deb, think about it. You evolved. You embraced the change. You embraced the minutia. And here's a quick story, and I know we're running out of time, but I remember I was going through a divorce, my second divorce, and I thought, oh, my God, I'm so ashamed of myself, and my gut just hurts, and while I'm working, other people are doing other things. And then, you know what, I mean, God gave me the blessing. I went to Bethesda. I was in the hospital there for like 8 hours. I mean, it was just I cannot describe what they gave me. And I remember going on the phone, and I talked to I had a different director at the time. Her husband was a Marine. And well, Dave, how did your day go? And I remember saying, you know what, it was the best day of my life. You know what? Looking at it now, it's only a divorce. It's only a divorce. And when I embraced and accepted the worst part of what I was going through, then I can have the strength and the courage to give myself permission to move forward. So who would have thought 5-10 years ago you'd have a great radio show? Maybe the relationship didn't work out, but you have great moments. Embrace it, and you move on and on and on. Because look at yourself, Deb, and your audience. And I got to say this to your audience: where you're at now is not you. It's only a micro moment in your life. But if you can accept it and move on, imagine where you can be 3 to 5 years from now, financially, spiritually, in a relationship. And that's the blessing. And it's good to look back. It's good to reflect, to see where you're at and to see where you're going to be. That's the evolution of life.
Well, we're going to go with you because, you can only get from others what they have to offer. And what you offer is just so amazing. And God bless you, Dave Pelzer. And you really are an earth angel. And I speak from personal experience, and I know from so many other people out there. So just keep doing what you're doing. And oh my God, would love to have you back. I'm already excited about it, but I want people to be able to connect with you and read your books, connect with you, get more of you, because we are who we associate with, and associating with you is just going to help us be, what we're created to be. So DavePelzer.com. Any final thought or prayer that you want to send out there? And thank you so much again for being here.
No, Deb, let me say this nicely. One, I love doing radio. I mean, out of all the things I love to do, I love radio because I like when people think, oh, Dave's coming on the air. He's going to talk about abuse. Boo-hoo-hoo. No, there's no script to life. You do what you got to do. But, Deb, let me stop for just a moment and thank you for what you're doing. I'm just a guy who writes a book once in a while, and once in a while I travel, once in a while I do what I do. Okay, it is what it is. But God bless you for showing up 110% and having the courage to say, hey, here's some information, folks. I want you to use this. I'm praying for you. Thank you for what you're doing, Deb. Think about the lives you're changing. And the audience, if you listen to her show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if people who have love in their heart are trying to give you good advice and they challenge you to greatness, that's the people you want to have a relationship with. Those are the ones you want to trust. So thanks for what you're doing, Deb.
Oh, my goodness. We are just going to be in the Best People We Know Club for a long time, Dave Pelzer.
No problem.
This is a story, and we're sticking to it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm just so excited. What a great show. And if you've loved this show as much as I have, and I know you have, please make sure that you get Dave's book. Please make sure that you share this show with a friend on Facebook, LinkedIn. Send out a nice, sweet tweet. We help each other. And if anybody doesn't prove that more than Dave Pelzer, nobody does. You're going to get what you give out. You want to be blessed, be a blessing. If this show has touched your heart, brought you to have a smile on your face, share and pass along this inspiration. That's what Dave's about. That's what you're about. That's what we're about. We all help each other. Go out and make it a great day. God bless. And thank you again, everybody. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Best People We Know radio show with your host, Deb Scott. For more on Deb and her guests, plus her award-winning guidebook to transformation, The Sky is Green and the Grass is Blue, Turning Your Upside-Down World Right Side Up, go to Deb's website, greenskyandbluegrass.com. You can also connect with Deb for coaching or speaking, and sign up for Deb's free Mind Vitamin newsletter while you're there. So now, you're one step closer today to your greatness. We look forward to being with you next time on the Best People We Know radio show.